Hey guys, Chaps here, and welcome back to another Gears of War 4 Horde Guide. Today we'll be taking a look at the various skill cards available for the Engineer class. The Engineer has 14 class-specific skills, which are primarily focused around fortifications. As always though, let's begin with the 5 general use cards and how they apply to the Engineer. Let's get execution bonus out of the way. If you're an Engineer, just don't use it. I mean, come on, you're a weak little Engineer, you're not going to be getting executions. Carry speed can be somewhat useful. Well, sometimes. Whether you're doing a speed run or a standard run, you'll probably use a lot of fortifications, and carry speed will certainly help you get stuff in position. On the other hand, once you have things in position, you hopefully won't need to be doing much carrying. For that reason, I typically tend to avoid this one. The only time I ever really consider it is if there's a recycle heavy run, or if we have multiple engineers and we just have one person running this card. For those not familiar with fortification recycling, be sure to check out the video I'm doing next week where I break down the engineer strategies. Team Revive is next, and it's always nice to have someone with this card. The engineer is typically in a pretty safe space, and often near the fabricator, so we frequently have the engineer use this one. What it really comes down to though is what fortification setup we want, and if the engineer can spare a slot for this card. If we can, I'll go ahead and throw this card on, but if I really need an extra card, I'll skip over this and let someone else use it. Up next is build cost and fortification health. I used to just pass these over in favor of the engineer specific cards, as those provide a larger benefit. While these provide a smaller benefit, it's pretty nice having that benefit spread across a few different options. With much of the meta shifting more towards sentry and barrier centric runs, and less on turrets, I've really started seeing these cards come in pretty clutch. I don't need as many specific cards, so these really shine, especially if you're heavy on recycling. If you had to choose one card, the health bonus will provide the best health per cost benefit. For this reason, unless you're recycling, fortification health should be the go-to over build cost. With those 5 covered, let's hop over to the engineer specific cards. We'll begin with barrier health and barrier cost. If you compare these two against each other, the cost card will be the most effective in terms of getting the most health per cost. Cost card will also provide the most benefit when recycling. The only reasons I can see for picking health over cost here is that you either don't think the barrier will survive the round without the extra health, or you just don't think the energy will be an issue. In most runs, you don't really see a large number of barriers being needed, so for this reason, I normally ignore this card. Next, we look at the decoy cards. Unlike the barrier cards, with decoys you'll get the most health per cost if you choose the health bonus card, but it's much more balanced this time. Again, if you had to choose one, go with health. The only reason to go the cost route is if you're going heavy on the recycling. I used to love decoys and I would pick these cards quite often, but over the past year I've really started to change up strategies a lot. I wouldn't say these cards are bad, but I think there's some better options. I'd pass on these as well. The last duo in the green card category is the turret set. Just as with decoys, you'll get the most bang for your buck by using the health card instead of cost, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. To begin with, many strats no longer rely on turrets. I still love them, but many people don't even care about these cards anymore. Even if you do use turrets though, I wouldn't go with the health card. In the patches last year, the turrets received a significant price increase. For this reason, if you plan on using turrets within a reasonable amount of time, you'll certainly need the cost card. So for that reason, it comes down to a simple question. Do you plan on using turrets for this run? If yes, you definitely want this card. If no, well, obviously skip this one over. The last green level card for the engineer is Repair Boost. This should be the first card any engineer equips, and you should never take it off. When it's maxed out, this gives you 70% savings in repair and ammo cost. That is just crazy. To give an idea of how much things cost, you can see the chart below. The percentage shown on the card is efficiency, which doesn't really tell you much. What you really care about is the savings. As I said earlier, this is the card for the engineer. Put it on and leave it on. The engineer has 4 blue cards, and they're all sentry based. We'll start with Salvage, which was added in the Rise of the Horde update. This will cause sentries to drop ammo boxes randomly when they kill enemies. I don't really see the point of this card, to be honest. Sure, it's a cool concept, but do players really need ammo enough to justify this card? I'll pass on this one. Up next is Sentry Speed, which increases the rate of fire for sentries. It's nice that it's going to kill the enemies faster, but sentries are already pretty powerful. I could see this being nice for the shock sentries, but pretty much nobody uses those. I haven't had a chance yet, but on some of the longer range maps, I'd like to try out some shock sentries with this card and see how it works out. The other issue I have is that sentries continue to shoot a bit after the last enemy goes down, which wastes some ammo. If you have an increased rate of fire, that means that you'll waste even more ammo. With just a couple sentries, it's not that big of a deal, but most people set up a large amount, so the extra energy adds up really quickly. Like I said, I'd be interested to test this with the shock sentries, but besides that, I think I'll pass on this card as well. Now we get to sentry cost and sentry capacity. Capacity is nice to have as it reduces the need to refill mid-round, thus allowing you to stay safe. It also provides a bit of free ammo, which is never a bad thing. With cost, if you're using a sentry, you're probably using a lot of them, so cost will certainly help you out. Many people also opt to use sentries as the primary means of recycling, so if you're doing that, cost is paramount. Using these cards though is just like the turrets. If you plan on using sentries, use both of these cards. If you don't plan on using sentries, well, don't use them. The Engineer has 2 epic skills that were added last year. Flow reduces the damage taken while repairing fortifications. That's cool and could help in certain speedrun setups, but most engineers know how to set things up so that they can repair it without being too exposed, or if possible do the smart thing and repair between rounds. The last card is Overclock, which increases the refill rate of weapon lockers. At first, this seemed really nice to help your soldier, heavy, and sniper refill ammo faster, but the more I think about it, the less necessary this is. A sniper has M-bar, long shot, and marks that rotate through. Soldier has retro, hammer burst, and lancer, and the heavy has the torque, drop shot, and boom shot, and a rifle. Being that you can cycle through and just let 1 refill per round and keep rotating your loadout each round, this really isn't necessary. It would also be more efficient just to have 2 lockers and duplicate weapons, instead of using a card slot for this one. So no, I would not recommend using this card. So that's a brief overview for the Engineer, but which cards would I use? Just like the Scout, it really depends on what type of run you're doing. With Scout, it was fun run versus standard run. With the Engineer, you don't normally use it for a fun run, so it depends on what type of standard run you want. I won't specify for various speed runs, but if you're sentry heavy, I use repair boost, sentry capacity, sentry cost, build cost, and fortification health. If you're using some turrets and no sentries, I go for repair boost, turret cost, team revive, and then either decoy cost or barrier cost, or sometimes health depending on the map. If I'm doing turrets and sentries, I go for repair boost, turret cost, sentry capacity, and fortification health. Now that's what I use, but what about you guys? Let us know in the comments below, which cards do you prefer when playing as the Engineer? Make sure to look out for Tuesday next week, where I'll be breaking down the strategies and tactics for the Engineer. Also stay tuned later this week and throughout all of next week to catch the guides for the other classes. Don't forget to subscribe to ensure you don't miss any of our content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Hey everyone, being this is our last planned set of Gears of War 4 Horde Guides, I wanted to do what I can to ensure that these are accurate. For that reason, I'll be pinning a comment to each of the videos with 3 things. 1. A link to a Reddit thread discussing Horde. 2. A link to a forum thread discussing Horde. And 3. A list of updates based on feedback. So please, if you disagree with something or if you want to discuss anything further, please reach out to me in any of the 3 places above or on Twitter. We're normally pretty good about responding, and I'll do what I can to keep these pinned comments updated. Note that these may not all be live as soon as the videos go up, but I'll hopefully have them together within a week or 2. Thanks again to everyone who's watched these videos, and I look forward to experiencing Gears 5 with you all next year.